This is your life, and this, as you can guess, is one of the most famous bars in the world, Coronation Street's Rover Return. And it's practically opening time now, and we're expecting a regular customer through that door at any moment. Now, it's someone who comes in here most evenings for a tot and a chat with Annie and Beth Lynch and Betty Turpin. But tonight is going to be different because our guest of honor doesn't know that there's a brand new barman tonight, me. And if all goes to plan, he's going to need a double tonight, I'd say. I'm going to pop into the snug and fingers crossed, Betty. Right, thanks.
Well, gum, you're a bit pushed for business today, aren't you? I thought Len were in.
Looking for somebody to buy you a drink, are you then, Albert?
Look, I want none of your lip. I'll have a drop of rum.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Tatlock, but I'm afraid the brewery haven't delivered yet this morning. Can I offer you something else?
On the house.
Oh, he never misses a trick.
It's never been known yet.
He does miss a trick, you know. Because it's not the usual tot tonight, Albert Tatlock, but a barrel full of surprises in that book, because tonight, Jack Howarth, this is your life.
Yes, but I'm going on.
No, Jack, you must.
You know what?
Jack, you must.
Let me tell you, we've a stack of surprises for you. We've
I know that.
closing time here.
I've had some.
Big
No,
trains, everything waiting to take you down to London, where the party is.
Yeah.
Honestly. Well, Jack, you gave me a moment of heart failure there, but I'm so glad you decided after all to take that train back with us, because Jack Hard, this is your life, and it's the story of a whole lifetime in entertainment. The story of a Lancashire lad born back in the last century in Queen Victoria's day, of a First World War soldier who, these many years on, is still a favourite of millions today and one of the most successful television series of all, Coronation Street, of course. Now, the cast of that show have always been close to you, Jack, and they're closer now than you think, because unknown to you, we smuggled them out of Granada Studios in Manchester and onto another train. And here they are now, the stars of Coronation Street. Well, just part of your fan club, Jack. Let's meet now another admirer, the lady who shared the lead with you in an even longer running show, 45 years of happy marriage, your wife, Betty. And you sit beside him, Betty. Now, Betty, you've been at Jack's side for nearly half a century. What would you say is the secret of his success over such a span of years?
Well, he's a very natural actor. I think that's one of the main things. He's also got wonderful timing, and he's never been afraid of hard work. But if we're talking about himself and me, well, I'll have to be a bit careful here, because I'm afraid some widow might come after him.
That's an idea.
Actually, he's not a bit grumpy. He's not a bit like he is on television, thank God, otherwise I would never have had him in the house. But he's kind, he's thoughtful, and I wouldn't swap him for all the sugar in the world.
Well, now, Jack, to prove how well you've beaten the generation gap, let's hear right away from two more generations of the Howarth family, your son John with his wife June, and your grandchildren, 15-year-old Grant and 10-year-old Karen. John, there's a story from your youth which you've told us seems to be typical of your dad, that you remember.
Yes, that's right, Eamon. It was my first day at a new school, and I was there in my short trousers, looking very sad. And Dad noticed a small boy looking even sadder. And he said, well, that fellow over there looks very sad. I wonder what his name is. I'll go and find out.
So what was the youngster's name?
It was Bill Roach, Eamon. That same Billy Roach who's sitting over there.
Now, Billy, we're going back some 32 years, and you couldn't know then that one day, by incredible coincidence, you'd be joining Jack in Coronation Street. Can you remember what you said when Jack came up to this little boy and said, what's your name?
Yeah, it is a long time ago, but I can remember. It was, I must establish that the school was Rydal School in North Wales, and I was 7 years old, boarding school, been sent there because of the war and everything. My first day at school, and I was crying my eyes out, you see, and Jack comes along and says, what's your name? I said, Billy Roach. He said, where do you come from? I said, England. and he treated me like a really kind old uncle, not a bit like Coronation Street. And Jack, may I just say, I think that you're absolutely terrific to act with. You're not only reliable, you're pleasant. Yeah. And I think for his age, for any age it's great, and at Jack's age he's just fantastic. 14 years, he's a marvellous man.
Grant, you and Karen rarely miss his television performances, do you?
No, but we've got something that we think the viewers have missed, haven't we, Karen?
Yes. Well, it wasn't one of his best performances, but we taped it while he was asleep in his chair.
Well, Grant and Karen have brought that tape along tonight, so let's hear the sound of Albert Tatlock off duty snoozing in his favourite easy chair. Listen. All right, he'll talk to you later about that.
Don't bother about that.
So if you two youngsters now settle back, you're going to hear not that, but a great story that begins in 1896 in the Lancashire mill town of Rochdale, where your grandfather Jack Howarth was born and brought up. Now, in those days, you could still hear the clatter of clogs on the cobbles, but there's a great tradition of entertainment too, and your dad's well known as a singer and compere. Now, we have a picture of him here with the Happy Valley Minstrels in Llandudno, just after the turn of the century. That's your dad on the right of the double bass, and you yourself, you start at the bottom of the show business ladder when you leave school and start work at the old Theatre Royal Rochdale. Can you remember what the job was, Jack, then?
Programme seller.
Well, programme setter it may have been, but in 1914 there's another job to do. You're 19 when you join the famous Lancashire Fusiliers, and it's not long before you're on the way to the Western Front. Now, not everybody knows that Albert Tatlock of Coronation Street spent 4 years amid scenes like this, the horror of the trenches in World War I. An unforgettable time, and one that's not forgotten by those who were there. Now, Jack, there was a great get-together of the old Comrades Association of your regiment just recently, and a pause to honour one particular veteran, you. And if you listen carefully, you'll hear a tune that belongs among your memories. The Regimental March of the Lancashire Fusiliers, played especially for ex-Fusilier Jack Howarth. The Minden March, played by Sergeant Robert Thompson and bandsman John Adams of the Royal Regiment of Fusiliers, just as you must have heard it so often on active service in France. Jack, and to share that moment and those memories with you, just look down on our audience here, the old comrades themselves, fellow veterans of the Fusiliers, who've made the journey to join you in this tribute tonight.
Anybody in the Bantams there? No. So with that side, they had to break us up after the first 18 months.
Well, even in the misery of the trenches in those days, you find the chance to entertain in concert parties behind the lines, and at war's end, you resume your career with a touring troupe, the Hamilton Dean Company, which turns out once again to be something of a family affair. We've another picture here, a picture of them some 50 years ago. And that's you at the end of the line. And at the other end...
That's me, Jack's kid brother.
It is indeed. He's here tonight, your kid brother Sid, and with him his wife Kay. Or was Jack then playing the sort of amiable character he's famous for nowadays?
Not that way, no. In the old days, it was Dracula that was a success.
What did he got hold of Bram Stoker's works,
He
did he?
got hold of Bram Stoker's book and he read it, he looked at it, and he said to me quite excitedly, he says, what a good production this would make.
And was the idea successful?
Yes, it was. It did materialise as a play, yes, and Jack had a great deal to do with it on the first night. He played in the cast, he got all the tricks together, all the properties. We got spiders from the roof, we got bats flying through the window, we got mice running all over the place, and that toured the country for 12 years. And I think in that 12 years he scared people, the population of this country, more than anything else.
Thank you, Sid Howarth and Kate.
I'll see you after.
Now, that company is full of happy memories for you too, Betty, because it was while Jack was there that you first met him, right?
That's true, yes. I joined him straight from school.
Kidnapper, they said I was.
And how long were you courting?
Oh, quite a long time, because I was so much younger than he was in those days. I'm catching up now. But when we eventually got married, we had rather an extraordinary experience on that first day. I don't think many people can say they have the same experience as I did, because we were married in the morning, we rehearsed in the afternoon, and we played Dracula at night.
Well, before you play Dracula, let's have a look at a picture of that wedding in 1929.
Oh.
There it is.
Oh, there's Gina.
And Betty, what about the honeymoon? Where was that spent?
Well, we couldn't go abroad because we hadn't got very much time, and in those days there weren't aeroplanes. So we decided, because we were great cricket fans, we decided that we'd spend it near Nottingham at a little place called Austin, a little village. And we spent the first 3 days of our honeymoon watching Notts and Lancashire playing cricket.
Nevertheless, it was just a year or so later that, John, you came along, and we hear that your arrival got mixed up with cricket as well.
Yes, it did. In that, while I was being born in Rochdale, Dad was away on tour with a play. And when he got the news, he sent a cable to the hospital saying, well done, many thanks, Australia all out 144.
Well, cricket has remained a great love of yours, Jack, to this day, which is why there's a couple of other Lancashire lads whose fortunes you'll be following very closely just now. They're fans of yours too, and if you look at that screen, you can see them now 12,000 miles away in Australia, where on Monday they helped the MCC to victory over New South Wales. Captain of Lancashire, David Lloyd, and fast bowler, Peter Lever.
Hello, Eamon. Hello, Jack. I'm delighted to have this opportunity of paying tribute to a Lancashire lad and a great cricket supporter. We do get a chance to watch you on the telly, Jack, and it's always a good performance. We hope that we'll be giving the same good performance against the Aussies in the forthcoming Test series. As you know, it's going to be tough, but they do breed them tough in Lancashire. Well, good luck, Jack, and all the best, and here's a Peter Lever special just for you.
Thank you, David Lloyd and Peter Lever. I bet you were a bit upset this morning to read that David Lloyd had injured his finger.
Well, I heard it on the radio. I mean, our papers were so late that they hadn't got it in the papers.
Well, let's hope he doesn't miss that first test. I'm sure
Oh, I think he will, but he'll be at the others, don't you worry.
Well, anyhow, cricket permitting, Jack, you continue your theatrical career right through the 30s in a string of plays in London and in the provinces. And it's in 1937 at Darlington, County Durham, that one very inexperienced youngster joins the company, and you created an impression on him right away.
Jack told me just where to stick my whiskers.
Nearly 40 years on, that same youngster, Cardew Robinson.
Oh!
Cardew, what was Jack's sage advice to you?
Although, as you can imagine, I was very young then. You can imagine it, can't you? I was playing a very, very old man. I think it was Jack's grandfather or father. I had to wear a beard, and it kept slipping off. And it was Jack, with typical kindness, who pointed out if I kept my chin bare and didn't put makeup on it, it would stick on much more easily, and it did. And, of course, so much later, we have the pleasure of working together on the SOS Stars Organisation for Spastics, of which Jack does so much fabulous work. But before I came, I found an old diary. I found it buried under an old scriptwriter. And it contains an entry for the actual week we met Jack. I've got a bit of newspaper in here to mark the spot. I think it's the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. And this is what it says. My eyes aren't what they used to be my knees. I quote, 18th of June 1937. Rehearsing hard every morning. Our comic Jack Howarth is fat, jolly and keen, and it should be a wonderful, wonderful 6 weeks. And Jack, from the Hippodrome Darlington to the Grand Biker, if you pardon the expression, it was a fantastic tour. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Cardew Robinson. Well, it's in the 1940s that your career extends into radio drama as well as the theatre, and it's about this time, too, that you branch into films. And here you are in a 1949 comedy, Cure for Love.
Alan, has everybody got a drink?
The drop of shots in there, it's for Millie.
Millie Southern's going to propose to Tom.
I know she is. I'm just taking it to her to do it with, aren't I?
All right, then, take it.
All right, I hope.
And the North Country lass who's in that scene with you is to become a great pal of yours, although you practically cure her affection for you when one night you're appearing together in Blackpool. That night you manage, incredibly, I thought at the time, but not now, to fall fast asleep. This time, right there, on stage, in front of a packed audience.
Are you listening? Sam Cross? Are you listening?
Unmistakably stage, yes, and television star Thora Hird. Thora, did you succeed in making Jack sit up and listen?
Well, we're all au fait with the snoring bit. I mean, the family have put us out about that. No, this was a fact. It was 1956, and we were doing Saturday Night at the Crown at Blackpool, you know. Well, in Act 2, I've got to tell you this bit, he was sitting over there, you see, Charlie Butler and Sam Cross were my corner men. And it was the one hot summer that we'd had for, well, when? And I looked across and I saw, put your arm there, I saw Jack asleep like that. Well, you can tell he's got his hand bandaged. And I hadn't got across there, I swear, but that night I thought, all right. And the line was what I've just said. So I crossed over and I said, well, it's nothing to do with your wife, but it's something to do with you. Are you listening? Sam Cross! And he fell right down on his back when he heard his name. So, of course, the pro is, God bless him, after the show, he followed me up the stairs. And that's nice for me. Nobody does it now, but he did. And if you did, and he followed me up the stairs and he said to me, Thora, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I am sorry, really. He said it was so hot. And they were drinking a lot of beer, you know. Prop glasses, but a lot of beer. And I said to him, you're going to be more sorry if you ever miss that out of the house again. And for 18 weeks, twice nightly, dear Jack there, fell off the bed. Like that, didn't you? And God bless you. It was a bit of fun, wasn't it?
We enjoyed it.
We enjoyed it. We didn't do it for the money, but it was lovely.
Yeah. Thank you, Thora. Well, it's in 1960 that you're first offered a role in a new series called Coronation Street for television. You come down to London, you stay overnight with brother Sid and his wife Kay, and I believe Jack offered you a prediction about the new show, Kay.
Yes, Eamon. He came to stay with us, and I remember him telling us that Granada had offered him a part in what was to hopefully become a series about ordinary North Country people in an ordinary North Country street, which was then unnamed, I think. And he said, I think it's a good idea, but I doubt if it'll catch on.
Well, you were just a bit off the mark there, Jack. Just a shade, because catch on it did, and you were to become one of the cornerstones of the whole series. Let's just look back for a moment now, over 14 years, to your very first appearance as Albert Tatlock.
It's no use asking you to take an interest in my collection. But if I didn't have these and the Choral Society, there'd be no for me but to go down to that reading room with all the other old ruins.
Your fellow actor in that first ever appearance, none other than young Bill Roach again.
Do we get paid for that?
We'll find out.
Coronation Street, you've made many more friends, not least a chum of yours who's to go on to international success in television and films, Mr. Swinley himself, who can't be here in person tonight, but he has this message for you, the one and only Arthur Lowe.
Hello, Jack. Hello, Eamon. Jack, I just wanted to take this opportunity of wishing you well tonight. I wish I could be there in person, but the pressure's on a bit at the moment. You know, Eamon, most people think that Jack and I first worked together in Coronation Street. That's not strictly true, as a matter of fact, because we'd worked together 12 years earlier than that in Basil Dean's production of The School for Scandal at the Bath Festival. And School for Scandal always means one thing to me, and I'm going to tell you something here, Eamon, and I know Jack won't mind my saying this, but he played a part called Honest Rowley. And you know what it's like, the Regency period costumes and little white wigs and so on. And I have never in my life seen a human being look so much like a Toby Jug.
You used to call me Toby Jug.
Come on after Betty. Joan sends her love to you both. Good luck. God bless.
Thank you, Arthur Lowe. Arthur was the one that he's mentioned Coronation Street again. Now, you know, when that began, you know, when you started, there was no radio, never mind television. Here you are now known in something like 80 countries. Why do you think Coronation Street was such a great city?
Well, you know, I mean, I often wonder that because to me it's so essentially local. But it was sold for me one day in Brighton. We were down there for the weekend. I was walking on the hotel at Saturday lunchtime, and I heard some footsteps coming behind, and something told me somebody was going to talk to me. Eventually somebody tapped me on my arm and I turned around. There's a lady there, very smart, beautifully dressed in black. I think she'd be 45, 50ish. Had a small boy with her. And in very broken English she said, "Excuse me, but do you play Albert Tadlock in Coronation Street?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, can I say how much I enjoy your performance and how much I enjoy the show?" She said, "I'm French, you know." I said, "Well, I guess that from your intonation." I said, "Now you can tell me something. Why do you, a Frenchwoman, like Coronation Street, which I think is so essentially local?" She said, "Mr. Tatlock," putting her hand on my arm, she says, "every city in every country in the world has its own Coronation Street." And that explains such a lot.
Yeah. A very good answer to it. Jack, with your flair for making pals, the new world of television is just as warm and friendly as the old days of provincial rep. On stage and off, you've a helping hand for everybody. And when you hear that a schoolgirl daughter of a friend has been involved in a serious accident in 1966, you can't do enough to lend sympathy and support.
And as her dad, I want to say you were a wonderful comfort to her, Jack.
Yes, of course, Dad is the man who created the Comedians and Wheel Tappers and Chunters Club Granada producer Johnny Ham. John, what in fact did Jack do?
Well, Jack and I have worked together under the same roof, 14 years. Never worked on a show together. But all over that whole time, he's always said, "How's my chicken?" Meaning my little girl, Mary. And I know that her accident 6, 7 years ago, it cut him up very badly. But he would read to her. And at one time, Jack and Betty cut a holiday short, I know, in Spain, especially to go and see Mary in Barcelona and take her out, and my mother. You know, that you can't buy.
Well, she was hoping to try and get her sight back, of course. And Jack, although you were ill at the time, you were also at Mary's wedding in August only last year, and that was an unforgettable day for everybody, wasn't it?
Yes, it certainly was. And if I remember rightly, Jack got out of a sick bed to attend. And,
out of hospital.
Out of hospital just to attend that. And, of course, Mary now has met Carson. She's married and she's living in Houston, Texas, a long way away.
Well, yeah, the first thing I asked you when she came on was how was his little girl.
Fine. She's
fine. Thank you, John Ham. Thank you. Well, as I said, Jack, you're always helping people, and oddly enough, right behind you there's one youngster tonight who's been inspired by your career. Karen, that's you, isn't it? What's your ambition when you grow up?
Well, I'd hope to be an actress.
God
I've just started. Because I've just started a new drama school.
I tell you, they should be better looking than him. Well, Jack, just as Johnny sat down. We were going to say, there we end your story. But one more surprise. The little girl you went out of your way to visit, the one you asked about a moment ago, has come something out of her way, in fact, to visit you. 5,000 miles from Texas to meet again her pal, Jack Howarth. Here she is with her husband, Carson, Mary Hamp. So now, Mrs. Ray, of course, not Mary Hamp, but when we asked you and Carson about coming over here, you had no hesitation.
Well, Betty and Jack didn't have any hesitation in coming to see me in Spain, so how could we not come for such a special occasion?
Jack Howarth, this is your life.